Welcome everybody. This is SharePoint Community Call. It is the monthly community call, December 2020. It is December 8th. We are closing in on this year, which has been pretty strange, so to say, which is, I think, a fair thing to say. Hopefully next year will be easier. This will be the last monthly community call from a SharePoint side until January. Today we'll have a relatively good topic and an agenda, or super good agenda and a topic. So like typically in this monthly community calls, we're going to cover some latest news, monthly summary or recap on the people who've been contributing on our open source efforts in the docs or in the samples across the multiple different organizations which we have in the Microsoft 365 open source side. And then we'll have a picture time. Hopefully we'll have a nice group photo coming up from this call as well. And then after that, we'll have roughly like 40 minutes for Kathy and Katie around building beautifully designed intranets, latest on the design and branding capabilities. So really looking into upcoming capabilities or the latest which has come around the branding in SharePoint Online. And this really concentrates obviously on SharePoint Online, which is the latest and greatest on SharePoint always. Now, let's actually move into the things. So first of all, just a quick recap. We have two different YouTube channels on different assets, which we have two different YouTube channels. There's the Microsoft 365 developer videos. There's the Microsoft 365 community videos. Also recordings of these community calls, as an example, will be in the Microsoft 365 community videos channel. We have plenty of open source assets available from multiple different locations and sample galleries. So if you're looking into starting on doing development for Microsoft Teams or column formatting, list formatting, JSON definitions, please have a look on what's available contributed by others in the community, because those will help you certainly to be more efficient. And then there's so many URLs to remember, and luckily there's only one of the URLs which is the key one, which is AKMS M365 PnP, the last one on right. If you remember that one, you couldn't find all of the other assets from one single location. Now, before we go to the topic of the day, which again was the branding, I just want to quickly recap some of the latest metrics and some of the latest things what's happening in the UserVoice side. So first of all, these are the top 10 non-developer UserVoice entries based on the votes. And I think last time we already talked about that the number one request, which is enable renaming of SharePoint tenant domain, is actually being worked on actively. I personally know really well the PM who's owning that, getting closer and closer actually to starting a preview and then getting that publicly available. We want to be obviously relatively careful on supporting changing of the tenant URL, or we want to make sure that everything works properly before we actually provide that to be available worldwide. But that's going to be tackling down the first item on this list. There's quite a few other items which are growing in votes as well, and many of them are actively being worked on. So trust me when I'm saying all of these votes do count. They count a lot, because all of the more votes item have, the more priority it will have in an internal pipeline. It's though not only the votes which count, so also internal priorities do have an impact. So that might explain why some of the topics have been slightly delayed or not yet available. On the developer side of the house, the number one item is to allow us to develop custom modern SPFx forms for custom edit experiences. There's more and more discussions related on actually supporting them, but please keep on voting on that one. So that would actually mean that you're able to override an out-of-the-box list with a custom web part. So you can actually then own the experience end-to-end. And that is actively being looked on, potentially put on the roadmap, but I can't promise an ETA on that one at this point. A lot of the other ones are specific requests on the API layer or in the SPFx, and a lot of this stuff is being on. 2020 has been quite, let's say, not a normal year. So a lot of our priorities and a lot of the work roadmaps have been changed during the year. Hopefully, starting from January, we can actually get back on track on actually providing a clear roadmap of the items which are being requested. But I'll get back on those in the upcoming community calls as well. Now, one of the things what we always want to promote is the PnP Sharing is Caring initiative. And David, do you mind actually doing a quick intro what this is all about and why people would care? should care.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Vesa. So for those on the call, it's important to note that the Patterns and Practices community is completely open source and inclusive, which means that we welcome contributions in all areas of the PnP resources, as well as using and taking advantage of the PnP resources. But we understand that the process of making those contributions and even sometimes using the resources can be confusing or come with intimidating barriers, such as the use of GitHub or how you manage Node to be an SPFx developer, all kinds of stuff. So Hugo Bernier and I lead the Sharing is Caring initiative, which helps provide hands-on guidance sessions. So things like first-time contributor, if you've never worked with GitHub and you want to learn how to interact with things like docs.microsoft.com or community docs, we provide you live hands-on guidance sessions where we'll walk you through together on how you can take advantage of using as well as contributing back. And you don't have to be a dev. It crosses the entire spectrum of contributive opportunities. We are constantly increasing the number of sessions that are available. As you can see, in December, we have 4. We have even more coming soon. We're having a thematic AMA coming in January, so be on the lookout for that. But we welcome everyone to join the sessions. They're smaller, they're intimate. We don't record them. They're completely safe space opportunities to ask all kinds of questions and get more collaborative with the community. So aka.ms/sharing is caring is where you can register for these sessions. We invite you to join us. It's a lot of fun, and we hope to see you soon. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David, on that one. Really, and these, like said so many times, these sessions are getting a lot of good feedback. So David and Hugo are doing an awesome job of explaining how to get started. If you're looking into getting more closely involved in the community, just reach out or go to AKMS Sharing is Caring to get more details. Now, a few other things, kind of an updates, what we're doing. PnP Weekly, the latest PnP Weekly came out today. We'll actually have a 4 weeks break on the PnP Weekly. So can we call it a PnP Weekly anymore at that point? I don't know. But the latest one is actually from today with Isabella, episode 108. And these are really good summaries on what has Microsoft announced in the last week and the latest community articles, but also we'll typically have an MVP as a visitor. So we'll talk about where the MVP is coming from, the learnings and key pointers, what the MVPs have learned within this journey of, for example, being on the cloud. So really good, both podcast and a video format from a YouTube. Also, we have a really good podcast for the developers, which is Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast from Jeremy Thake and Paul Scheffelin. And this is a great one as well. Typically, new podcasts are released once a week. The latest one actually came out yesterday, so on Mondays, and that was around Fluid Framework and distributed systems with Kurt Berglund. So really cool discussion as well. So if you're interested on that one, please have a look on that. And one thing what I wanted to also promote is the conference this week. So we do have a virtual event, completely free Microsoft 365 collaboration conference happening starting tomorrow, so 9th of December, and going until Friday. And we have Jeff and Caruana and Dan having the main keynotes on every single morning. And these are all new content, especially keynotes. There might be some sessions which are using previously used content, I don't know, but a lot of MVPs have actually created new content as well, and new sessions and new information available. If you go to the virtual.m365conf.com, you will see the schedule, speakers, all of the details from one location, but strongly recommend actually checking this out. Topics vary from Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Microsoft Graph, SharePoint Framework, all of the things what we have within the cloud. And Power Platform, of course, as well. Now, one of the things which we also execute or provide is the monthly summary on what's happening in open source. We will release this blog post Thursday. I'm now promising it to Thursday. So if I miss tomorrow, it will be out still on time. But basically having one blog post where we push out all of the updates related on samples, news, and contributions. But always in this monthly call, we call out all of the contributors within the past month. And once again, we had a massive amount of people actively contributing in our documentation or in the other open source initiatives or open source projects. So thank you. And this is between A and J. So many people, again, being active on the community and contributing for the benefit of others. So thank you for helping us on this journey of moving into the cloud. And this is the list of people from K until the Y. So a lot of, again, people on this side as well. And it's good to see always some new people, and it's great to see also familiar faces and familiar names coming back on and contributing every now and then. So obviously you don't have to contribute on every single month, but we want to acknowledge people who are doing that in this monthly community calls. So basically people are getting credits out of this. And this is the list of companies which have given their permission us to show their logo, and their employees actually have contributed within a monthly summary or monthly within the past month to our open source effort. So thank you for these companies as well, allowing their employees to actually contribute during either the work time or outside of work time as well. That's up to them how the model actually works. But thank you for these companies for being active on the community and really contributing as well. And from a Microsoft side, a longer growing list as well. So more and more people in this side as well, actively engaging together with MVPs and community members. And this is one thing what we want to do with Microsoft 365 PnP, which is we as a Microsoft employees, we want to work together with you. Because you as a customers and partners, you know exactly what is needed on day-to-day work. We in Microsoft, in many cases, we work in our homes and offices, and we don't necessarily work on a day-to-day basis necessarily with the real customers. So having that day-to-day connection between engineering and the community is super important for us, and that's why we want to do this in the future as well. Now, the next picture and next slide, let's do a quick proof photo. I know that there's more than 270 people now on the call, so first 50 people will get to this one. I will actually put my video in a together mode, 270, and then I will do the screen capture as well. It's actually pretty cool to see how many people are enabling the videos. Unfortunately, there is the limit of 50 attendees. So I will take a few screenshots. I will share the pictures in the chat as well and in the social media. Thank you everybody for joining. It's good to see the live faces and waving hands. So thank you everybody for being here and participating. Cool. Now let's move forward on the slides. So the next one, like promised, giving Kathy and Katie 45 minutes around the branding on SharePoint and latest and greatest on these capabilities. Kathy, Katie, take it away.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. We're looking forward to sharing some information with you today about building a beautifully designed intranet, tips and tricks from the product team. My name is Kathy Du. I'm a senior program manager on the product team for SharePoint, focused on branding and some Teams integrations. Katie, you want to intro yourself?
Yeah, I'm Katie Swanson. I'm a senior product designer on SharePoint. My focus is in customer success. I work with internal and external customers on all things awesome about SharePoint.
Yes, we're really excited today to talk to you about this session and to give you some great updates and even some further incentives and updates about what you can be doing to how you can build beautiful SharePoint sites and some latest updates for branding. So today we're going to talk about building a beautifully designed intranet. And as you can see on the screen, we have 4 topic areas that we're going to go through. First, we're going to talk about applying your brand's identity. Then we're going to talk about engaging and motivating with visual storytelling, how to increase your user experience with content structure, and to drive that identity, value, and strategy consistently across your sites. So as we go into this, we're going to talk about the core elements in branding SharePoint, the first of these being logos. And as you can see in the screen, there's actually 3 different locations where you can apply logos within SharePoint and Office 365. Then we're going to talk about navigation and all of the different navigation components that you can utilize to build out your sites and structure. Then we're going to talk about theming, which is how you can use color to reinforce your brand. And then as we go into content structure, we're going to talk about the content, actually putting content in the pages, defining and strengthening and building out that content and planning for it. Then we're going to talk about imagery. So what kinds of images and how do you connect those images to your content and use that to reinforce your message? And finally, we're going to talk about the layout. What different layout options can you use? How can you use those effectively and to bring that image and that content all together to make your pages and sites really strike home with your users. So first, we're going to jump into the brand. So talking about these foundational elements that allow you to brand or customize your sites to really apply that theming and that logo and that identity of your organization to your SharePoint sites. So as we jump into that, like we said, the first thing we're going to talk about is logos. These are the way that you really orient users, give them that identity, and jump into it. So as I said, there's 3 different tiers of logo display and navigation within your SharePoint sites. The first of these is your org logo and navigation. So this is the logo that is applied into the suite nav that is done by the global admin for the tenant at the tenant level. So being able to have that singular organization logo at the top and be able to have that consistently across not just SharePoint, but throughout M365. So having that logo follow my Outlook, any of the web properties there. Then as we jump down into it, the second place that we have the ability to apply a logo is if your site is a hub and you have a hub nav and logo that you're able to apply an additional logo to really group things together. So think about your divisions or departments and having that kind of level of organization and logo consistency there. Then our third logo location is the actual site logo. So what is the identity of the particular site that you're working in? How do I go in and do that and apply it? It's the largest of the logos, as you see in our 3-tier stack. So it tends to have a bit more prominence. So really thinking about how these 3 logos can work together. If you have all 3, you may just have the org logo and the site logo. So it's kind of thinking through and planning out these logos as you go through. Really think about using different shapes, different icons, different ways to reinforce as you go through. And then if you're working with mobile branding and having a mobile application, it's good to note that the SharePoint app, our native mobile app that you can download, uses that tenant branding. So that very top level that we identified that you set as the global admin is what is utilized as the brand in the SharePoint app. So making sure that you're thinking that through as you're planning out your logos. Next up, I want to talk a bit about navigation and wayfinding. So really thinking about providing this system of giving people cues and structure as to how you want them to navigate through the site and how you want them to work. So as we look at this, we go back to this concept of 3 tiers, but you'll notice potentially here a new thing. So first we start with that org logo again. That org logo can also be a link where you can set that link as a part of setting up the branding for this and have it go back to where you want it to. So if that is your SharePoint home site or your landing page for your intranet, think about where you want people to go if they click on that logo that you've set up as part of your org logo. Then as we go further down into this, one of the things that you may notice is a new bar showing up here underneath the waffle on the left. This is our new introduction of global navigation. And the global navigation is a new thing coming out next year that you'll be able to set up and have a bar that shows up on the left side of your site where you can default and define this as multiple navigation nodes, where you want people to go, what sites you want them to have, as well as news and pages and files. So if you see this, you'll notice we've highlighted the home icon at the top. That will actually be configurable. So you could have either the default logo there of the home, or you could define your own custom icon there for your global navigation. So we consider those 2 grouped together, the org logo and the global nav, to be that top level navigation of how you want to provide people a nav structure to work. Then as you continue to move down, the next one, again, as we mentioned, is that hub logo. So if you've designated your site as a hub and then associated sites to that hub, you now have the ability to define navigation for within that hub. What are the sites? What are the categories? What are the ways that you want people to navigate amongst those connected hub sites? And so you have that hub navigation that you're able to utilize. And then taking it a step down, that's taking you into the specific site navigation. So how do you want your users to navigate within that site? What are the things that are pertinent and relevant within that site in particular? What are the libraries or the lists or the pages or the news that you want them to focus on, actions that you want them to perform within that site? So that gives you a great summary of navigation and all of these great things. This again is a sneak peek of that app bar, that new app bar that will be coming soon. And you can learn more about that in other places as well. Next, I want to talk about the site header layouts. And we've got some really great, exciting news here. And in fact, you'll see two layouts here, the extended and the minimal, that are highlighted as new. And I'm really excited to tell you that just last week, these two new header layouts rolled out 100% to targeted release. So if you're in one of our targeting release organization tenants, you'll be able to see these header layouts in your sites now. And for those of you who aren't using targeted release, these will be rolling out in early January to everyone. And we're really excited to have these as two new options for you to really utilize and customize your sites with your site header. So what you'll see as we go through these, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on them as we go into the deck a little bit further, but you'll just notice a few things that you come into here when it comes to navigation. Navigation moves around a little bit based off your header layout. So that's definitely something to consider as you look at navigation. Yeah, so here again, talking about site navigation, which I just highlighted, moves around a bit in that header layout based off which layout you choose. It also changes a bit based off site template. So are you using a communication site or a team site? So in team sites, you know that that navigation moves to the left-hand side. That's our quick launch or our left navigation. Site-specific content on the left side. But in a communication site, you actually have two different options for your site navigation. You have the option to choose between our mega menu navigation layout or our cascading menu navigation layout. So you can really customize how you want people to interact with your navigation as you go through your different site types. So now I want to talk a little bit more in depth about some of those new header layouts that you just saw. In particular, the extended header. The extended header now is giving you the option to have a background image along with your logo and all of your header content. And there's a few things to note when we're looking at the extended header and ways that we recommend that people use this. The first of these is to really think about the content of what you're putting within that extended header and how you're wanting it to work. You'll notice that in this extended header layout, we've shifted the navigation and the site actions, those site labels, all of the actions, into a bar below the header image. That is to make sure that accessibility is maintained, that these actions and components that you want people to make sure they see are accessible. They're still in that solid band theme colored bar. So you have to take into account your theme a bit as you're picking this, but also what are you going to put into that extended header? So in these two examples, we're actually using photography. So thinking about photography images that are going to give you that negative space to allow your logo to be highlighted, site logo or site title are readable and visible throughout it. Something else that you'll notice in this is that the site logo is centered in these two images, as well as in that lower image, that Contoso Give logo is really big. In the extended header, we have actually removed the maximum width on the logo so that you can have a much larger, wider logo in this extended header layout, and you get to choose your logo alignment, whether you want that to be left justified, center, or right justified. So taking that into account as you're picking what background image to go into that header is really important as well. And Katie, if you'll advance, we have a couple more examples here. So the next, if you're thinking beyond photography, maybe you have a set of patterns that maybe you can utilize or have designers help create for you, or that you can find as stock photography to really go in and pull in colors, but maybe there's nothing as distinctive as a brand photo to be utilized here. This really gives that text, those logos, the ability to pop out. and then taking it even further into an actual brand illustration and how can I add illustration into this header. So really giving you a lot of different options here as to how you could utilize this extended header. We're really excited to see how people will start to use this, potentially using it on home sites or their home of their root of their intranet. It'll be really exciting to see you get these headers in your hands very soon and start using them. So then the last piece when it comes to this that I want to talk about with headers, footers, and navigations is the footer. So when it comes to the footer, we have 3 options that you can utilize. The first 2 are out of the box, and the third is a custom solution using PnP and SPFx. So in the first, we have our simple footer layout that you can utilize with simply a logo and a single line of links. And then we have our extended layout where you can have that same logo that you can put in, but then you have multiple links. So you have that list of the menu structure for your footer options. And then taking it further, as always, we do have application customizers that you can use to extend with SPFx these different areas and build your own custom solutions to go in. Whew, it's a lot about headers and footers, and I see a lot of people talking in the comments, and when I switch over, I'm going to answer a lot of these comments, so please stay tuned for answers. I'm excited to see what you have to say. Then, as we look at the last piece of this that I want to talk about before we start talking about the content, is talking about theming, really using your brand colors to emphasize your sites. So as we look at this, one of the things that you may notice during this year is that we've made a change within SharePoint. And within SharePoint, I'm hoping that Katie's catching up with slides.
Sorry.
We actually made a change this year. From the previous brand colors for SharePoint were blue, and as many of you know, teal is our new brand color. So we did make the shift this year to make our default theme move from blue to the new teal. So if you had existing sites that were blue because you had never changed it, they turned to teal. As you create new sites, they utilize teal. But if you don't like teal, you do still have options to go in and customize the theme yourself, whether it's by using one of our out-of-the-box themes or by creating your own themes. And if you're creating your own theme, we have a great theme design tool that will allow you to get started by picking some primary colors and a couple of colors here, and you can utilize this tool. Some of the great things about this tool is that it tells you if your colors are accessible and how that accessibility will work. But also note that while this theme designer is limited in the number of colors, it does give you the different theme slots and the pattern and the code that you're allowed to export so that you can continue to customize your theme if you have a little bit of knowledge with hexadecimal colors and how to work with some code. And then you can use PowerShell to apply this theme into your site. So just by making some of these changes, you can really start to customize your sites and really add that emphasis. So here in this particular screenshot that you can see, we've created a set of company themes where we created our own custom themes and installed them and made them available. So depending on the site or the organization, the department, the type of content, you're able to pick from these different themes to apply to your site, as well as we've created a dark theme that is allowed to be used within our organization so that you can really go through and customize how you want your sites to appear and use that change the look panel to really go in and do this. You can also apply a theme via site design. So it makes it easy to create these and apply them with an easy site design application on creation. So I hope that we've given you a great number of options when it comes to branding, and I'm going to let Katie talk a bit about content structure as we go through the rest of the session.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm going to actually keep on the slides and let you catch up on the messaging because I am not looking at that right now. You know, content structure is also one of the big things here. It's really just about the organization of your content. I'm not going to spin the wheel here and let you know how important content is obviously on your site, but the way you organize it and readers can take it in is super important, and it's going to get people to come back and keep reading. So we can't really start with content structure without talking about what content is. And, sorry, jumping. Go back. Well, let's just start here. Content is more than just making your site really pretty. It's really about, beautiful design is a little bit more than the way that people kind of visit your site. In design, we create the containers for the content, and the visitors come for the content, not the containers, right? That's the important stuff that you're coming for. So we want to get out of the way for that. And content, broadly is really all the stuff that's within your site. It's everything from copy, images, video, documents, data, audio, so much more. And if you really think about it, if you want to get this out of the way, content really is content development is really one of the hardest parts about any site project. And never mind getting good images. I mean, that's in and of itself a whole nother project. But content strategy can allow you to plan, create, deliver, and govern your site content. I think, to be honest, I could probably spin up in a whole nother presentation just talking about content strategy. But I'm just going to talk about some key things to take away from this. If there's anything on here, is the bookends. Let's look about defining your content goals and maintaining it. If you're building a site that is widely consumed by your company or organization, there's nothing worse than stale content. Evergreen content is content that doesn't go out of date, and it revolves around a topic that's always relevant to your readers, regardless of the current news cycle or season. But if your goal is to promote or provide engagement across your team, org, or company, keep your content fresh and make sure to perform site audits at least once a year. The greater information density, the greater the amount a content visitor will see on the page. Because it's tied to content, information density has an immediate impact on the user's cognitive load, which in turn has a huge impact on the site's navigability, usability, and user experience. While it's tempting to load up the site with a lot of content, moderation and minimalism is going to be key to ensuring perfect user friendliness. So let's talk about some things that we can do to design for density. If you'll see on the right, I'm going to actually take this and show you some things to make it a little bit more engaging. You want to use white space. This allows the content and your visitor's eyes room to breathe. A white space is possibly the most important factor to be taken into consideration in content-intense layouts. Boxes, borders, graphical planes segment the information into visual categories. An intuitive search method, such as using quick links mapped to header anchors, will allow your users to jump straight into the info they need. And grids, although not always necessarily really comprehensive, you can't really see them, the underline, they do work really well to keep your content in a rigid, consistent structure, which helps reduce the effort required to process it. And lastly, visual hierarchy is the arrangement of graphical elements in a design in order of the importance of each of the elements. So you really want to think about how to prioritize your content. When everything's important, nothing's really important. You really want to make sure you establish what content is required by the user upfront and what can be hidden. And you want to make sure you use semantic categorization and categorize your content in a way that makes sense for your user, not you, nor your client, nor your colleagues, for the user themselves. And be really ruthless in identifying any internal jargon or acronyms that people may not know off the bat, and get rid of those. Design consistently too takes a whole new level of importance when talking on content-rich site, not only for the user's sake, but for minimizing future maintenance headaches. For example, keep related image assets all the exact same size and dimension so they can be reused seamlessly across the site. So let's talk about imagery. This is where I'm supposed to tell you, imagery speaks 1,000 words and all those kind of things that are super important, right? But to be fair, in an online generation where skimming and scanning is a general practice, the importance of these 1,000 words makes it even greater. The human brain responds to images almost 50,000 times faster than text. Visual storytelling is passing a lot of information through a relatively simple visual aid. Photographs, maps, and data visualizations. These are really great tools of visual storytelling, but to use them effectively. Remember, the most important part of any kind of storytelling is the audience. Imagery can serve as a main focus on your site, or it can add to its design. You can add images directly to your site using the image web part, image gallery, full with sections, and the hero web part. You really want to use images that kind of complement your brand. Use photos with a minimum number of colors and details to avoid visual clutter. And instead, consider using a photo where the colors are within the theme of the site. And if you can't find one, a really good way is to do some black and white imagery, as that matches with any kind of color themes. And really, use your images as part of the story. It really breaks up a lot of copy and gives people like a little bit of a stop and a breathing, pulls them in. Visual story is usually made up of relevant words and sometimes pictures, but they're really crafted together. Photographs on their own also can tell stories. Images can be used to highlight a specific talking point or to simply add visual aesthetics to the page. Full with images can be a great way to provide a visual break or to segue into the next topic. This can be achieved by using variations of web parts, from the basic image web part to creating dynamic options, utilizing the hero tiles, and all the different layout options available. And that new thumbnail image, I get a lot of people that hit me up on this, and I think it's really important to know what you put on the first page that you put in, first image rather, that shows up on your page, say it's in your page header or within the body copy, will automatically become your new thumbnail. The thumbnail and description are used in places like search results, SharePoint News, News Digest, or email messages. But if you're not happy with what is displayed there, you can actually go in and edit it. If you go into page details, in edit mode, you go into page details rather, this pane will open up and you have the option to change your thumbnail, and that description text, which is your metadata, you can actually change it right there. And accessibility, can't go by here and not talk about accessibility with imagery. Users with low or no vision use a screen reader to access your site. And screen readers go through a web page's code and read all the visible content on that page. And an image does not have machine readable content. So screen readers need to rely on the image's alt text to completely and accurately describe the image content and function. And SharePoint lets you easily do this by adding alternative text, also known as alt text, for all your multimedia content. We also offer you free stock imagery in the image picker. It should come as no surprise that viewers are 80% more likely to consume your content if it comes with engaging visuals. And when you need that perfect image, go ahead and you don't have a lot of budget or expertise to create your own, definitely utilize these stock photography or even illustrations. But do be careful when you're doing this, because authenticity makes your site a little bit more welcoming. So those awkward stock images that you find that just look really stocky, without a better word for that, do try and steer clear of that. And utilize your org assets. This was set up about a little over a year ago. You can actually have your organization as one of the sources for people to choose from. And you can really load that up with some really great branded assets. Everything from imagery to your PowerPoints, different kind of guidelines, what have you. And then people can really have a consistency across what your brand looks like. And consistency means your audience is being exposed to core messaging, visual branding, and other branded elements repeatedly, which can help to solidify brand recognition. Okay, so the last piece we're going to talk about is a bit of layout. This may come across a little bit of a design 101, but I think it's super important to kind of speak to this. Before we go on, let's just have a little chat here. There is no fold. That's it. There just isn't. The fold madness, we have to stop it. The web has evolved, so has our users, and there's plenty of research to prove it. In understood content and context, people will scroll. I mean, the evidence is in favor of it. Not only do analytics support it, usability testing demonstrates it, and every single device nowadays is a scrolling machine. Visual hierarchy is the arrangement of graphical elements in a design in order of importance on the page for each element. And strong visual hierarchy makes the difference between site layout design that guides your users to an action you want them to take rather than making the site actually look nice. It's very instinctive. Humans are incredibly visual human beings. And when it comes to consuming content online, we often scan the page too quickly to discern whether or not what we'll find will be before diving into it. It's important to correlate size with the importance of any design. And the most important information should be the biggest on the page and really demand the most attention. So you can see here on this new employee onboarding that really the prioritized information really was a personalized message and then also to get them to connect to people. So those two things are really top, very large on the page. Next is, again, coming back to use of color, and this is also in your theming. Color can also be a really great way to break up monotonous content or draw the reader's attention to an aspect of the page. If your site or page features different types of content, clearly define your sections by using dividers or section backgrounds, and structure your page to facilitate scanning and help your users not ignore large chunks of the page in a single glance. For example, use grouping or subheadings to break a long list into several smaller units. And of course, with alignment, good formatting encourages visitors to engage with the content throughout the page and find the most important information faster. Using type well will also increase the amount of information read on your site. Type is all about the details. Left-aligned paragraphs delivers a straight left edge, and this anchors readers. So it's really where you kind of know where to start each line and keeps it really clean. And I can't talk more about the, how important white space is. It's all about, white space not only creates a harmony, but it's also the balance on the page. It helps brand design. It can also be used to lead a reader from one element to another. The main goals are to make the website look simple, uncluttered, and to deliver information that our readers will enjoy and appreciate. Don't be afraid to use a spacer and break up sections. It's going to give the user a nice break within it and actually give some information where they're similar. Thinking about like a Gestalt hierarchy, what needs to be grouped together through the use of white space. And I'm talking active white space. This is what you actually add to the page, not that we add within our UI. Okay, so lastly, we're going to talk about consistency. And, it's all about picking a style that matches your brand. Will help you communicate your message more effectively. On top of providing users with a quick starting point, page templates allow for a consistent content structure and a look and feel across your site. And when I'm working on a site, I often roll these templates into the content planning. And this always allows for them to be part of the package rather than an afterthought. So creating these page templates ahead of time and having them available really helps your users, your content developers even, be able to quickly make that content and get it out to your users. And the best news is, with all the success of the SharePoint lookbook and all the different templates we put out there, our product team really listened. And I'm really happy to announce that we are looking at introducing site templates in product. So we're going to have these options available to you. They're brought to you by different kind of scenarios that you can go through. Some of these may look similar to what's in the lookbook, but we've actually gone beyond that and done some really great research to find out the top scenarios And of course, when you put it in, it's just like any other SharePoint site. You can further customize and modify the template to fit your use case even better. And it also doesn't let you, kind of gives you more time, and you don't have to spend your brain cycles thinking about designing a site. You can use that site template to get started really quickly and purposefully. If you want to learn more about this, go to aka.ms Virtual Hub. There's a couple really good sessions on there speaking to that speak to this. You can also visit our Kathy and I session on there. We do some demos on there that we're not going to do today for the sake of timing, but I do recommend going and checking that out. And I think, that's really it for that. I know we talk about this UserVoice. We always listen to you. As Vesa noted earlier, should definitely go there and check that out. And for more inspiration, always go to the lookbook.
I want to reinforce that UserVoice. I will say that I spent a fair amount of time, even just yesterday, going through UserVoice when it comes to branding and looking at the different pieces that you guys are asking for. So upvoting and voting on items within UserVoice when it comes to branding and content, we are paying attention to that. And we do look to those to help influence what we're doing. So we definitely want to continue to encourage you to look at UserVoice and use that as a great resource.
Now, Katie, do you mind actually sharing the slides one more time? You were super. Hurry, stopping sharing, because I wanted to go one step back on the virtual hub. There's one thing which I want to really kind of, I think everybody is super excited, is the going and seeing also how do we then get this kind of a portal inside of Microsoft Teams. And that's the one session which we showed in the Ignite. So in the virtual hub. One more time, just to kind of a recap on those things, because obviously whatever you saw today from Kathy and Katie, absolutely brilliant stuff. It's great to see the flexibility. And these are kind of a future-proven way of doing branding. The classic way of doing master pages had its own problems, and this, whatever we're showing here, is the future. It's evergreen. We support that, all of that stuff for the future as well. Now, in here, how do we actually do this in the best way? Let's use search keyword. Bring power of intranet into Teams. Hopefully this actually works. Otherwise, no. Okay. Kathy, do you remember? It's in the modern work, probably.
Yeah, I think it's in modern work. I'm trying to race you. See if you can find it first.
There's a link in the chat.
Thank you, Vijay. Let's see if I can actually get it open. Here we go. Checking the links. Yes, so this one, what I'm looking for, thank you. On the topic, there's a specific video which is living in the Microsoft Teams. Now that's your intranets. And the whole point, what I wanted to kind of bring here is the future convergency of Teams and kind of a SharePoint to a one single experience. So all of this is now, well, it's not yet available, but it's coming. There is a preview capability available, how you can embed already currently your portal in Teams, but it's a not super polished experience. So currently this is being now worked on, and Tejas goes through and basically shows how things will work. For Teams is actually released. And I think this is having the flexibility of the common corporate communications and news and articles and layouts in SharePoint, and then surface that inside of the Teams is really the holy grail, so to say. But what's, Kathy, your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is really great. And bringing these two closer together, we know that a lot of users are living in Teams today. And so really being able to deeply integrate SharePoint and Teams even further than they already are by bringing those great SharePoint sites into Teams is just a great step forward for providing that great intranet information right at their fingertips wherever they are.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that doesn't mean that SharePoint portals are going to go away. It doesn't mean that corporate communication or intranets are going to go away. Of course not. There's a use case for all of this stuff in the future as well. So, but just wanted to pinpoint that one because it's an interesting direction where we're heading at some point, unfortunately, there was presentations which was like, do you do Teams or SharePoint? And the answer is you do both.
Both.
So, yes.
Yeah. We'll find you where you work.
Exactly. That's absolutely the vision. Cool. That's it then from Kathy and Katie. Thank you. It's a really great presentation and a lot of excitement on the chat. I think we hit 290 attendees, slightly above that. So that's a pretty cool number as well. Branding is always super interesting for people. As we're hitting the hour, we're not going to have a Q&A explicitly in here. Maybe, Kathy, is there some timelines for some of this stuff? You said that some of the capabilities that came out last week to targeted release.
Yeah, so the site header layouts that I showed you, as well as there's a few new configuration options when it comes to site headers as well. We added the ability for you to specify a square site logo thumbnail for use in things like site cards and search, where we do utilize that square aspect ratio, as well as some additional configuration for hiding the site title visibility, so turning that on and off. That, like I said, shipped a targeted release last week and will be shipping to all customers in production in early January. And then for the global navigation that you saw us preview and showcase a little bit here, as well as site templates, they're both scheduled for sometime in the first half of 2021. I don't have specific timelines on those yet.
Yeah, excellent.
And the good news is everything I shared is available today.
That is true. Yes. Yes, but you're so specialist on creating cool looking layouts. I think that's the one training which we might actually book like 30 minutes of your time and then do some videos where you just show how to create awesome pages, because I think that would be really interesting.
Design level, like 100 design level, is a good segue that people are looking for training. So it's been heard and it's been talked about, and we're trying to prioritize that.
Yep. We'll make that happen sooner or later. But thank you, everybody, for joining today. One more time, thank you, Kathy and Katie. The recording will be available in 24 hours in the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel, AKMS M365 videos. The next monthly community call is on 12th of January. So in January call. Before that, we'll have 10th of December Microsoft 365 General Development Call, which is happening this Thursday if you're from a development side of the house. SharePoint Framework Call on December 17th. And after that, we'll have 2 weeks off. So no calls on 27th, 24th, because that's the Christmas Eve, and no calls on December 31st, because that's the New Year's Eve. So 2 more calls, and then we'll go to a holiday break. In general, we have a lot of different community calls on the developer side, especially the SharePoint monthly one is more on the feature and capabilities. Other ones are more from the development and extensibility side of the house. And if you're interested on this, go to the AKMS M365 dev calls. But that's it for this one. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kathy, Katie, one more time. And let's stay in touch. And please keep the feedback coming.
Bye all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.